ago, presenter Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed, and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business. I mean, your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services? You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern. Covid-19 has no doubt impacted the global polity so tremendously that it's obvious that things will not remain the same anymore. Proponents of the digitization project, the virtual transaction, studies, conferences, logistics will gain much more grounds in an exponential proportion in coming days. Welcome to TV Business Daily on Television Nigerian. I am Chiwendu Osisiago. Our discussion today shall be extreme major upsets we anticipate in our national and global economics going forward in various sectors. But before we proceed with the discussion, let's look at the business stories making headlines. Stay with us. The federal government has said oil marketers are not free to fix the price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. A statement in Abuja on Sunday by the Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency said the government had not confirmed on marketers the power to fix petrol price. The PPPRA stressed that the new market-based pricing regime was still in force. The Executive Secretary PPPRA, Abdulkadir Sedu, said the attention of the agency was drawn to the several media reports that claimed that the government had removed the price cap on PMS and had given marketers the freedom to fix the price of the commodity and sell above the stipulated price. It described this as a misconception, adding that the implementation of a market-based pricing regime was first announced by the Ministry of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipri Siva, in March. Electricity generation companies in Sunday kicked against calls by the Senate for a reversal of the privatization of the power sector. The General Court also announced that the indebtedness of the power sector to electricity producers had risen to about 1 trillion naira since November 2013, when the industry was privatized. Opposing the position of the Senate, the General Court argued that reversing the privatization of the sector was not the solution to the current status of the power industry. The Senate President Ahmed Lawa recently called for the reversal of the power sector privatization, which according to him had failed to deliver. The General Court explained that soon after the privatization, it became obvious that key guidelines set by the Bureau of Public Enterprises and Operators as stipulated in the governing contract had still not been activated. The equity segment of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a negative note last week as investors lost 120 billion naira. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization both depreciated by 1.00% to close the week at 25,016.30 basic points compared to 25,267.82 a week ago. The market capitalization of equities dropped to 13.05 trillion naira on Friday from 13.17 trillion naira a week ago. All other indices finished lower with the exception of NSE AFR yield and NSE consumer goods indices, which appreciated by 1.20% and 0.26% respectively, while NSE ASEM closed flat. Trading in the top three equities, namely FMB Holdings PLC, Guaranty Trust Bank PLC, and Zenith Bank PLC, accounted for 456.576 million shares worth 6.940 billion naira in 5,921 deals, contributing 31.08% and 29.47% to the total equity turnover, volume, and value, respectively. Over 1,300 oil spill incidents occurred in various parts of Nigeria between 2018 and 2019. Latest figures compiled by the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency have revealed. It was also gathered that most of the oil spills were caused by the activities of vandals who break pipelines to steal petroleum products. The Director General Nostra Idris Musa had said findings by his agencies show that an average of 5 oil spills was recorded daily in Nigeria. Musa observed that it was difficult to record the type of oil spills that was recorded in Nigeria in other parts of Africa. He further noted that the agency had realized that the underground tanks of many filling stations in the downstream oil sector leaked products into their surrounding environments. And that's the business update on Television Nigerian. I'm Chiwendu Osisiago. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
My name is Chiwendu Osisiago, presenter Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed, and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business. I mean, your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services? You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern.
Thanks for staying with us, and in case you're just joining us, it's still TV and Business Daily. Like I said earlier, we shall be exploring post-COVID-19 economy across various sectors. My guest is in the studio. He is the Executive Director, Speak Positive about Nigerian Initiative, Mark Donald Koiki. Welcome to TV and Business.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
It's good to have you today. Okay, generally, what are the changes we envisage after the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria?
Basically, I wouldn't actually say that we are going to envisage because the changes are already here. But the thing now is, are those changes going to be sustained or they're going to be dropped? For example, we can see that during this COVID-19, first, our health sector was totally down. Meanwhile, we were told that, I mean, we always read in the news that, okay, so and so billion has been, invested in the health sector and all of that. Now, when the COVID-19 came, the underbelly of the lizard was exposed, and so we now knew what was under there. So at the end of the day, we now realized that we didn't even have ventilators in the whole country. We had less than 10 ventilators before the COVID-19. Now, the change that came in that sector during this COVID-19 period was that monies were raised from by various governments, states and federal, to acquire these ventilators. So that is one change, positive change that has happened in that area. So, but at the same time, we know that several billions of naira was, donated by investors, by corporate organizations, and even individuals, to fight this COVID-19. Well, don't ask me where those billions are anyways. So would they and would they now sustain that development whereby they now focused attention on the health sector so as to improve it? That's the question. So after COVID-19, are they going to relax? Though I hear that a lot of money is being budgeted towards the health sector even now as we speak. Like, for example, the Bankers Committee has said that they want to give about 3.5 trillion, to the pharmaceutical companies to see how they can, help to facilitate their activities in that health sector. So are these things that will be sustained at the end of the day? We look at the area of education, for example. Schools have been closed. Children are all home. And you can't just leave them to be like that. So what happened? They had to move the schools from the physical school to the virtual school, whereby they were using all sorts of applications, to teach children. Some were using Zoom applications, some were using WhatsApp, some were using Google Classroom and all of that. And these are things that are not actually new in the world. They've been. Only that in our own climate, we've not been using this. We are not used to it. Of course, you know the reason. The reason is simply because the level of internet connectivity, how many people have handheld, how many people are connected to the internet and all of that. That is one side of it. So those things were things that were being used in developed countries. I remember some of my friends, they would go and come back and they would tell us, oh, okay, the classroom didn't hold today. The lecturer said we should just go online and do that. And he taught us online. I was like, oh, really? So that is what has come in Nigeria. Now, are we going to sustain it? Are we going to run it side by side, the regular schools?
Even when school resumed.
Even when school resumed, yes. Is it possible to retain it? And I would not advise that we switch completely to the former way of doing things. Because what if something else happens? Yeah. So we now start running again and see how. So it is better we run them side by side. And within this same period of COVID-19, people were locked down in their various homes and they couldn't go out. What happened to their finances? Their finances were going down. And when the finances were going down, you see that there were some states, especially in Lagos, where there were rampage. People were like, no, we can't stay because we don't have anything to eat anymore. Yeah. And we now heard the federal government said that, okay, we're going to give what they call palliatives. Well, maybe you got some palliatives, I don't know, but for me, I never got anything like palliative. And they said there was this funds transfer they were making to people, that we were giving them 20,000 naira just to sustain them within that period. But how many people can actually stand and say, okay, I got. So it now has to, it boils down to the issue of integrity. It boils down to the issue of integrity. So all these things are put in place, but are they implemented the way they are supposed to be implemented? And yes, for me, it's a good development if, things like that are put in place to alleviate the sufferings of the larger populace of Nigeria. But unfortunately, those things always find their way around and goes into the pockets of the high and mighties. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the changes that have caused changes be sustained. Would they even be implemented the way they are supposed to be implemented? Let's take another example, the oil industry. Of course, we know that oil crashed worldwide. Yeah. And it affected Nigeria because Nigeria is one of the countries of the world. And of course, one of the producers, in fact, one of the biggest producers of crude oil. What happened? We saw that the price of petrol came down from 145 naira to 123 naira within that space of time. So that's another thing that has happened. Yes, a lot of people welcomed it, that okay, the price of oil has, the price of petrol has come down, and some are even still agitating that it can still come down more than that. Yes, if it can, fine. But let's now look at it. What are the dangers of such things? Don't forget that Nigeria is dependent majorly, I don't want to use the word solely, it's dependent majorly on oil. And from the projection, they were thinking that, okay, in 2020, the revenue that will be gotten, policymakers and economics, they projected that, okay, what they're going to derive from that sector will be about 5.5 trillion. Mm-hmm. But with the COVID-19 coming in, we now saw that was not feasible at all. And in fact, it dropped. The figures dropped to about 1.1 trillion. So that deficit, how are they going to cover it up? So those are the kind of things that have come to stay. Those are the realities that we have now. So how do we surmount these realities that we are seeing today? And if there are positive side, how do we now maintain and sustain these positive, changes that we have seen that the COVID-19 has brought?
So do you think that the government should actually sustain these changes even after this whole COVID-19? Talking about the online school that you've said.
You see, sustainability for me, it's a matter of decision. It's a matter of sincerity. If you say, okay, this thing is good, it worked perfectly well, and we want to sustain it, you now bring in the resources to be able to sustain it. If we're going to sustain online schools, for example, it means that schools are going to start buying computers, laptops specifically, handheld devices. That means funds has to be provided for such things. But is the government ready to do that? That's the question. And even when they tell us that, okay, we have given out such and such amount of money for those things, do they really bring them? Did we see them? Going by what we have seen in the past. So it has to do with how sincere the government of the day is.
Okay.
Are you following me? It has to do with how sincere they are, and then availability of funds or resources to be able to sustain those changes.
Okay, let's look at digitization now in the country.
Okay.
To what extent may it assist?
You see, digitization or the computer world order for this, and a delivery man brings it to your house. Because at that period, you hear that there are some essential workers. So those delivery peoples that are carrying food from point A to point B became very relevant in the scheme of things. And how do you get in touch with them? Through digitization, by going online and ordering what you want, make your payment and all that. So you saw how, from what we've said now, you can see how digitization has come to help, alleviate the suffering of people during this COVID-19. Of course, we just talked about the schools, which were moved from the physical environment to the online. So, one point I'll have to make here also is that during this digitization or this COVID-19, it was the telecoms company that were living large. Because if you have to be online, you have to buy data. In fact, for me, I think I was renewing like twice a month, because I will buy data and then they'll have to go on Zoom, they have to use WhatsApp, and they'll have to do voice recordings to their teachers and snap their notes and all of that. It takes a lot of data. And so I have to renew like twice in a month, like I used to before the COVID-19. I used to renew just once. So those are the people, or those companies, the telecoms companies, were the ones that were really making profits within this period. So you can see that the digital world prevailed, or they enjoyed a lot of things, while the physical world was on standstill due to COVID-19.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's go on a quick break. You know, children are the leaders of tomorrow. So now let's listen to the children on how they've been coping with the COVID-19 pandemic that's ravaging the world. Stay tuned.
My name is John.
I'm Choma Chukwudi.
My name is Kalipa.
Children's Day is the day set aside to create awareness on the problems children are facing and how to improve their welfare and solve them.
I stay healthy and boost my immune system by eating from different food groups like carbohydrates, proteins, and vegetables.
Apart from eating healthy and junk food, I have gone through all the immunization processes from tuberculosis to yellow fever. The health centers are open for everyone who wants to access immunizations. And don't forget, vaccines save lives.
I wash my hands regularly. When I want to cough, I use tissues and dispose of them properly, or I dab to cough.
I stay safe during this lockdown by wearing face masks and practicing social distancing.
I know you may be wondering if this lockdown stopped my education. Well, no, because I now have online classes.
I read my books and have a lesson teacher to support me during this pandemic.
I am stable. I am in this lovely environment. My parents are there for me, and I also exercise.
There are children who are unable to access clean and safe water. These children constitute the internally displaced people, the Ahmadis and orphans who live in the rural areas and urban slums. Now these children are unable to afford hand sanitizers. There is no hope for electricity, not to talk of internet access. This is surely a very unpleasant situation. However, we can come together to solve and tackle this challenge for the future.
Do you know that it is the right of every Nigerian child to be schooled, healthy, safe and stable? The Federal Republic of Nigeria has a constitution that says so.
So I believe that children should be healthy, schooled, safe and stable.
All hands must be on deck.
Corona or no corona?
Thanks for joining us again, and in case you're just joining us, it's still TV and Business Daily. Like I stated earlier, we've been exploring post-COVID-19 economic across various sectors. My guest is here in the studio. He is the Executive Director, Speak Positive About Nigerian Initiative, Mark Donald Koike. All right, now you've listened to the children. Now, what may be the consequences of this pandemic across global economy?
Talking about the globe, let us start from this point. Don't forget that the COVID-19 did not originate from Nigeria. It originated from Wuhan in China. And with the COVID-19, you can see that the rivalry between the United States of America and China has worsened. I think about a month ago or so, I'm not too sure what date it is now, the United States had to withdraw its funding to World Health Organization simply because it feels like, okay, the leadership of World Health Organization has a relationship with China. So that goes to tell us that the COVID-19 globally is unraveling some things. And no, the US and China rivalry does not even end with just the World Health Organization alone. You can see that the economy of America is going down. For example, their oil dropped to as low as minus 36 point something, minus, which means that they were actually paying people to come and buy their oil. Now, you ask me, how is that possible? For example, there is what they call the futures market. Is an exchange system where the oil that you buy, when you're buying commodities, you don't buy them directly. There is the futures market, which is you're buying in future. So you say, okay, within so and so period, it's going to be selling for this, and then you sign a contract. You have your own copy of the contract. I have mine. So with that, at that period of time, you now saw that America was selling their oil for minus $36 per barrel. So that's a hard hit on them. And on the other hand, China's economy was booming, with them selling protective materials to the world and all of that. So, coming to Africa, in fact, you see the fight between the US and the China as it relates to COVID-19, how he has brought everything to bear. The African Development Bank, with its president, Akinwumi Adesina, what happened? They are now saying that he should step down based on allegation of corruption. And it makes me laugh. And this is someone who has done a lot for that very institution. But simply because they can feel the presence of China in Africa. Don't forget that your own president went to China. Instead of trading with US, that was usually in the case, he went to China to trade with them. I'm sure you still remember that. So, and it's not only Nigeria, other African countries. So America now saw that, okay, so it's like China is even coming here to take our market. And I believe, though there are some school of thought that says no, that Adesina has done some wrong. But even if he has done some wrong, I believe that there are systems that have been put in place to check such things. Now, what happened? The system that was put in place had cleared him. So the US is now saying, oh no, we won't take it. Instead, they want to bring in an independent body to command. So that is what, quote and unquote, COVID-19 has caused globally. We're now seeing America being very, very aggressive in its dealings with China. Now, their oil has gone down. I mean, the price of oil, because there is no movement, for example. So, globally, it's affecting everything, everybody. Since there is no movement, you are not going to buy oil. You're not going to buy your... In fact, you remember that during that period, things were sold out in the US market. The normal, everyday commodities, even tissue was sold out. So that is how it affected the world globally. And of course, coming to Nigeria, you saw what happened. So looking at the COVID-19 and its global effect, it's enormous. And I wonder, well, I believe that we can come out of it. I want to be optimistic that the world can come out of it only if our leaders are sincere and then they put the right things in place. Looking at Nigeria, for example, with the drop in oil, I will expect that we now begin to look at alternatives. The government has always been shouting, "Oh, let's do alternatives. Let's look at alternatives to oil." But are they really pursuing it the way they are supposed to pursue it?
Okay, now bringing it back to Nigeria economy,
Yes.
what are the consequences on the running costs?
The consequences on running costs, it's both on the good and the negative side. Now, I just mentioned seeing Buhari on Zoom holding meetings. Now, those are meetings that would have cost money. Traveling from here to the US and all that. So all those meetings that would have cost money
Can actually be done.
We can see now that they can be done online. Without necessarily traveling and spending all those money on entourages and all those bills that you pay. Now, again, you see that the monies that, the airlines, for example, all those flights, all the airlines are grounded within that period of time. All those people that had private jets and all that, their private jets were all sitting there. So it means that the costs of running and doing business or running of running governance could be reduced, could be cut. So that is on the positive side. We can actually cut the cost of doing of governance, of running the country with what COVID-19 has shown us. But at the same time, there's a downside of it. People who would normally go out and spend, because let me tell you something, it is when you spend that I earn. It is when I spend that you earn.
Yeah.
So if there is no, selling and buying, there is no exchange, then the economy will not move. And so that's the downside. People are locked in. All they now have to do is they just buy what is needed. All the excesses were cut. I won't go and be buying shoes when I know that I need to buy food and all that. So that is the direction. And looking at that, it now means that if we actually invest more on agriculture, for example, more food, we can even export those things,
to other countries.
and then we make foreign exchange from them. So that is how it affects the finances. The fiscal side of it. It's up and as well down.
Okay, now our time is fast spent. Can you just give us your final take, right?
Okay. My final take is that going forward, the government will sit down and begin to say what should we do in order to go beyond this level that we are in right now. How are we going to leave this state? Yes, I know that they've said they're going to give 50 billion to firms that were affected by this, and all of that. Are they really going to do it? So all of those things, they should plan and see how they can move from this level. Then there should be heavy investment on agricultural sector. They should get the local farmers, empower them. They should empower them and make sure that those people are producing more. And so the more they produce, the more they are able to sell to the outside world. And then don't forget that a lot of the produce are lost in the farm. So the government should also come in, like I talked about the futures market, where they can actually buy these things on hold and have contracts where they can. So they should look into all of those things and begin to use them to forge ahead, in the post-COVID-19 era.
All right, thank you. We hope that the government, government has already invested in the medical sector. We therefore hope that it also invests much more too in the agricultural sector, so that Nigeria as a country too can actually export goods or food items to other countries to make ends meet. All right, thank you so much, Mr. McDonald, for coming on TV and Business today. It was good to have you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Yeah, and that's the much we have for you today on TV and Business. I am Chiwendu Osisiago, and don't forget that you can follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Do have a wonderful day. Bye for now.